Kristen here, your coach and creator from thebossysauce.com. Thebossysauce.com is your one-stop shop for anything related to small business and HR and recruiting. So what I'm going to do is walk you through SmartRecruiters and the settings feature in this video. Now, SmartRecruiters is an applicant tracking system, and they started out by having this free aspect to their applicant tracking system. Now, you might be asking yourself, what is an applicant tracking system? If you've ever applied to a job, it is the software that collects your application. So now if you're on the other side of that software, what you can do is you can take that application, review all these candidates, collect them, move them through the recruitment process, find candidates later for other jobs. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can do with an applicant tracking system or an ATS. We're going to reference it as an ATS going forward. And so SmartRecruiters offers a pretty lean platform, but a very worthwhile and usable platform for a small company or a startup that really just needs to get a few jobs posted and might need to hire a few people a year. So if you have under 10 jobs at a time, you can use this tool completely for free. And to let you know what it typically costs for one of these platforms, as somebody in the field, I can tell you in 2023, I would recommend either a company to purchase either Lever, or if they can afford it a little bit more, I would recommend like a company or a platform like Greenhouse. Lever probably costs anywhere between $4,500 to $6,000 for a small company under 50 people. And Greenhouse would be about 20 to 30% more for the same platform, maybe even a little bit more than that. So those are what I would recommend, but you can definitely see that free is starting to look really good now. So let's go ahead and just dive into the features. If you are looking to learn how to actually use the platform, we're going to go over that in the next video. So stay tuned for that next. Right now, we're just going to go over how to set up this account so that you can get going. Okay, so let's dive right in. So right here, we have your settings dashboard. You can access this by clicking right here and clicking settings and admin. Now, it's easy to forget where this is when you're living and you're living in the platform day by day. And you're like, where can I access this information? So don't forget it kind of is in this little hidden area that you don't visit until you need to visit it. And so you just click on your little icon up here. If you never add a picture of yourself, it'll just be a little bubble and it'll say settings and admin. Click on that. And then, so I'm going to walk you through what you can access. As you can see here, the blue highlighted pieces are the ones you have access to with your free account. With the grayed out ones are the ones you don't have access to unless you do decide to become a paying member. And I will note, everything that is available in the free account is wonderful and great to use. The one thing that I do think is really lean and is a little difficult is the scheduling aspect, but I found a really good workaround, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Okay, so what we're first going to go through is my profile. So right here, I've uploaded a photo of myself. It's not necessary, but I like to do these kinds of things every time I go into a new platform. Your name and what your position is. And this is what you want to put in location. Your name is obviously really important. It'll end up in your signatures of all your messages that you send out. So you're going to want to do that. Login and password. I'm not going to click on that for obvious reasons, but that's where you access that. Your email preferences. So this is actually really important because this is where you're going to set up your preferences for all of the emails that you're going to receive from the platform. Do you want to be informed when every time a new candidate applies to a job? I don't want to know every time a candidate applies to a job at the volume that candidates may do that. So I opted out of that. But all of these options in here are options in which you can decide whether or not you want to opt in. And this is what when a hiring manager responds, a coordinator, a recruiter, an interviewer, or an executive. And those are account types within the platform, which we will learn more about later. But I just wanted to let you know what that meant for now. Okay, location or locale. That's where you set up your time zone. So I am in Pacific time. So that's where I put that in. And then my purchases, this is where I'm going to find my orders. I'm not going to click on it, but this is where you'd find your invoices for prior orders. Like I have a couple of orders where I purchased job slots for LinkedIn Recruiter. Payment methods, again, not going to click on this for privacy reasons, but this is where we have credit card information for purchases when I want to purchase job slots on any, external job boards. These are optional things. SmartRecruiters will aggregate for free to job boards like Indeed and Glassdoor, but you are going to want to likely do a little bit more than that if you're going to want to actually get some traction. So even though the job platform itself is free, you're likely going to want to at least do a social push or pay for a job board or something in order to get some traction on your jobs. But that's a completely separate thing. This platform is free, and that's what we're talking about today. Okay, so company settings. You click on the company profile right here. This company we have here is ThoughtForge. It's a startup that's a client of mine. They're working on their logo right now, so it looks pretty lean. But this is where you can actually upload the logo, put in your company website, and basic information like what the name of the company is, what they do, size of the company, and basic location. There isn't really, it's a work from home place kind of type of company, so there is no actual physical address. And there is one registered, but we don't have it in there. The security settings, I'm not going to click on that, but that's where you do all that. All company email settings. These are kind of like the preferences, but you're kind of overriding everybody else's. Global compliance. This is super important. Now, this is where you would set up things like if you have a privacy policy you want to include. A lot of companies don't have this until they get a little bit larger, but they have a lawyer draft this up. If you have GDPR requirements within your country, you are going to want to tick this box. If you're in the EU, you definitely have GDPR. If you're hiring within the EU, if you're a company in the US, but you have and you're registered if you're registered to hire within the EU, a lot of companies might not know this. If they're kind of newer, you do have to be GDPR compliant. And now, if you don't know what that means, a basic overview of what GDPR is its rights for information for people. So in an employment capacity, what that means is people have the right to have their information removed from the software, and so that things don't stick around within the tool. And it's not a requirement within the US. I could see that changing. I actually really could, but as of the posting of this video in February of 2023, it is not a requirement. You might want to check, if you're watching this video 2 years later, you might want to check on that. And this here is where you have your equal employment opportunity, and all that data collection that you have typically seen if you've applied to jobs in the US, like are you a veteran, and do you have any disabilities, etc. This is where you collect all that stuff, and that is a requirement for employers within the US. So you're going to want to make sure that you have that set up. Anyways, I'm going to do all that stuff in a bit, but because this is all new. And then we have our screening questions. Screening questions. Okay, so this right here, we have a few different questions that I have set up. So we have our work authorization questions. I have 2 of them. The reason I ask 2 is one is the more, are you authorized to work now? One is, will you require support later? And if so, what support will that be? So that way we kind of have a heads up on those visas. We hire a lot of people in tech, and so that we just like to know. And then we were getting a lot of people just graduating college, and we set up a question that was 3+ years because all of our positions required at least that many years of experience. And the one thing that I was hard to get around was how to customize this for specific jobs. I couldn't figure that out, and I don't think that is possible. So every question that you ask here is a blanket question. This might have to be removed in the future if we actually do hire for an intern or something that is actually an entry-level position, which means it'll affect all the jobs. If you want to create a new question, you can do that here. And there's also a question bank. So there's definitely a little bit of flexibility, but not as much as you would potentially hope. And then here are some more of those EEOC questions, like your veteran status and everything, where you can find those required questions. And just so you know, those questions, those bank questions should be collected anonymous. And so when they are set up in that way, they should actually be collected anonymous. If they're not, then I would definitely give a negative marks on SmartRecruiters, because every other applicant tracking system that I've worked in does that. Okay. All right. So your hiring process here. This is kind of what we call a recruitment funnel, or working a candidate through the recruitment funnel. And the reason for that is you end up with, it's kind of a sideways funnel. Like you end up kind of working your way down into a funnel, right? And so you have a lot of applicants at the beginning, and then you end up with like one person that gets a job at the end. And that is a funnel. And so what we have here with new is we have that's pretty much the applicants. You can't change the names of these boxes, which is unfortunate, but you can really kind of amend each one of these stages. Now, there's like these stages right here, and then there's sub stages. And so you can edit these to a certain degree. Now, new is what it is. That's the applicants. You can remove or change any of these. We've landed that this works pretty good for us because we can go from applicant, then we go, as for me as a recruiter, I do the first pass, move them to resume review. And then, I decide that I want to, whittle this pool down a little bit more, move it to, okay, I'm ready to submit it to the manager. Or the manager goes through this pile too, and then they decide to whittle it down to a smaller pool. And then one of those twos happens. And then we go, okay, they're ready to move to the recruiter screen. And that's the pool where action is now ready to happen. And so then we go, after that, they move into the team interview. We actually have 2 different interviews within the team. And then if things go good, they're going to do a skills test, which is actually the engineering or technical interview. And then if things go good, then they're going to get an offer extended to them while we're doing a background check. And then they would, in theory and hopefully, accept the offer. So that is our recruitment funnel and recruitment process. You can change things if it doesn't work for you. Like, let's say you want to add some of these things in there. Now, just note, phone screen is one of these things in here in review. We already have recruiter screen. There's nobody else. We're not going to have 2 different stages before the actual interview stage that require phone calls with people. So that didn't make sense for us to have more. In fact, I really wish there was a stage in between in review and interview that was a separate main stage that was recruiter screen, because I think there is value in isolating it as its own thing. But we can't do that. This is the free platform. It is what it is. So, but there is some flexibility here to amend things a little bit. Actually, I'll show you what other things are included in the other ones, so that you can see. And then we have here, you can do reference check, onboarding. I mean, we don't necessarily do, I think reference checks are kind of a waste of time, but background checks were something we do. I know I'm probably going to get comments from people on that. But okay, so moving on. we we have interview types. What is Smart Labs? I'm trying to remember what that is. Oh yeah, post to the free aggregators. You want to make sure this is ticked so that you are included on those job boards that are free to Glassdoor, Indeed, any of those types of aggregated job boards. And then moving on, we're going to do career page setup. This is where you find your actual URL to your company page. I have it right here. It shows we have 2 jobs up right now. And if you click these, it'll actually show the jobs and the job descriptions and everything that we have posted. It's really quite bland. If for the free, you're not really allotted a whole lot of creativity. You can do some customization with color and stuff, but the way it works is you have to actually take the configuration here and then take it to your actual website and have it kind of use the code and then like kind of integrate it both. And so it becomes something a little more robust than I think we were really wanting to do. The job widget, this is where the coloring and stuff can change. So when you change it here, it doesn't change unless you actually go and you grab the code, put it on your website. So it gives you a little bit of directions here, but it can be done. Permissions, we have user management. Right here, you can see you can change the management of the users. Now, everybody here we have right now is an admin, but there are different user levels. I recommend Googling these. I haven't actually really had to deal with anybody else not being an admin yet, but I imagine employee and basic, maybe standard will probably be what you end up giving most people. What I did notice though is that you're not going to be able to give a recruitment agency access from what I can tell so far. And unless one of these is not labeled that way. So if for some reason I'm wrong, I'll note it in the notes below if I do a little research and find that out. But and historically, if you're not a recruiter and you don't know what this means, what it means is a recruitment agency, what recruiters will do, in-house recruiters will give access to a recruitment agency so they can submit candidates of theirs into the platform. And what this does is it'll be make them GDPR compliant, because we're not really supposed to be having resumes floating around in our inbox anymore if you are in areas where you have to be GDPR compliant, because in theory you have to be able to delete the candidate's resume at any given time. And the other thing is it just helps us not have to do the manual work of taking that resume, inputting it ourselves, because the recruitment agency is already putting it in. And it'll also notify them if a candidate has already applied or been added by another source when that email address of the candidate is recognized. And so there's like 3 different reasons why it's really good to have that. And I don't see that as a method in here. So it's one thing worth noting. Usually it's like agency recruiter or external or something like that. It'll be worded in that capacity. Email templates. This is really valuable. So you can add any template here. Now, there are different areas in which you'll use these templates. I'm going to show you one template right here. The scheduling feature. Now, this is what I said I was going to come back to. The scheduling feature, which I'll go over in the next video, is the only thing about SmartRecruiters that you're going to kind of want to work around a little bit. And you're going to want to use like a Calendly link or something. Now, if you, Calendly will give you 1 link for free per person, per email address. Now, if you're already kind of like working around that or need some more, you can do HoneyBook. HoneyBook has unlimited links for free, and it's actually not just a tool for that. It's a tool that's for like sending documents, and just like a whole bunch of business things. And so, but you can use it for right now, for the focus that we're doing right now is on links to book, similar to Calendly. And what you can utilize this feature for 6 months for $1 a month. So I'm going to include that below if you want to utilize my referral or my affiliate link for that. It'd be $6 for 6 months, really. That's included below. And here I have a template where you can, in theory, just, set up an interview with someone. Now, one thing I want to note is when you're setting this up, don't click invitation to job interview. You're going to want to click generic email because of where you're going to actually access this. You're not accessing it in the interview setup area. You're actually just going to access this in the email area because you're not really going to use the interview tools within SmartRecruiters because they're not really very good with the free platform. So I learned this the hard way when I couldn't find my templates. So just click generic email and you'll be good to go. And then you have all of your other templates in here, which is really useful. And then right here, we also have auto reply. The one you really want to make sure is good is your auto reply for, which already comes into the platform, but I like to amend anything that's already established in there. Is the one for passing on anybody letting people know that you're flattered or thanking them for applying to the position. You're not passing on them yet. You're just thanking them. So here I also said, hey, thanks. You want to also follow us on LinkedIn, and here's a paper that was in Wired magazine about our advisor. And so I put that stuff in there and made it nice. So that's, you would definitely want to make that really inviting. And so those are the main features for setting up a platform in SmartRecruiters. Now, if you like this idea of using SmartRecruiters for a free account, go ahead and join me in the next video, and I'm going to walk you through how to use SmartRecruiters, the tool, the applicant tracking system. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe. I have a whole bunch of other things. If you also want to check out thebossysauce.com, I have a solopreneur tool guide that has a bunch of tools in it for startups that are either free or cost effective. And so you can download that at thebossysauce.com. And so I look forward to seeing you in the next video. And until next time.